Hey guys, welcome back to Philosophy Fridays. My name's Ethan and this is Modern Morality Part 2. If you missed Part 1, that's alright. It's right here. You can also check it out in the description. It's pretty quick. Okay, now we're going to talk about morality from a modern standpoint. Many Westerners, especially from the United States, but they are everywhere, believe that our morality descended from the Bible. And that's sort of true. It's also true that as time passes, we see less laws made from the Bible and more laws rescinded that were originally from biblical text. So let's start there. Now, I'm not American, but we can use mostly American laws to determine if they match up with biblical laws, and we're going to start with the original 10 Commandments. First commandment, I am thy Lord thy God. Okay, so this statement isn't really saying anything about morality within the next couple statements. However, most Western nations don't consider biblical God above any other gods. The next few are, thou shalt not have any gods before me, no graven images or likenesses of me, and thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. For starters, we allow people to believe what they want. Therefore, there are many gods, and no one god is above any of the others. Also, it seems the church kind of forgot about the whole graven images thing, because this is a graven image, so is this, and this too. So I don't know if you've noticed, but people take the Lord's name all the time in vain.
Jesus Christ!
And no one is stoned or put in jail for it. The next commandment is remember the Sabbath day, which is Sunday for those who don't know. This is a reference to the fact that you're not supposed to do any work on Sunday. However, people do work on Sunday all the time in the United States. In fact, not a single Christian that I know, granted they live in Canada, remembers the Sabbath day. Everyone works on Sunday. I mean, work does not mean go to your job. If you read it, it means like, do anything. It's pretty crazy. The next few are pretty good, so I'm just going to put them on the screen here for you to see, but the last one is worrying on a moral standpoint. The last commandment is thou shalt not covet. It's a little bit disturbing when you actually do some research on what that means. First off, covet is basically lust, which is a thought process, not an action. So this commandment is basically saying, do not desire anything that is not yours. Now the Bible gives you some very specific examples, including but not limited to your friend's wife, his servants, or his ass. No, not that ass. Now I think it's time to remind ourselves that these are not like suggestions for how to live a better life. These are laws that to be true to God, you have to follow. And some of these are actually pretty immoral, like thought crimes are crazy. I should be able to think whatever I want. Let's move on from the commandments of the Old Testament and talk about the New Testament, because it's pretty important too. So as a whole, the New Testament is a lot more moral than the Old Testament, but there's still some problems we have to discuss. First off, thought crime. So like the Old Testament, the New Testament has a lot of things to say about thoughts that you should not have at all. Mainly adulterous thoughts, which Jesus said were the same thing as committing adultery itself. Yeah. Another problem with the Old Testament would be its clear and blatant homophobia. While it's not entirely rare to find the odd homophobe every now and then, most people, including most Christians, would agree that being homophobic is very immoral.
Immoral, like morality, but on the internet.
Unsurprisingly, however, we find homophobia comes up many times in the New Testament. I will point you to Corinthians 6:9. Do you not know that the righteous and the wrongdoers will not inherit or have any share in the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the impure and immoral, nor idlers, nor adulterers, nor those who participate in homosexuality. For those who need a translation, here it is.
Don't you know that bad people won't get into heaven? Don't be deceived. Sexually impure, immoral, those who follow any other religion, adulterers, and homosexuals will not be allowed into the kingdom of thy Lord.
There you go. Thank you, Clay. I will also remind you that there are only two options in the Catholic faith. Heaven or hell. There used to be three, but the Catholic faith got rid of purgatory. And no matter what your crime is, eternal punishment for any finite crime is egregiously immoral. So we've tried to be as neutral as possible in talking about the Bible, and we'll leave it up to you to decide if the Bible is where our morals come from or not. Now we're going to move on to another possible theory for where our morals come from. Social Darwinism. Oh my god, where do we start? First off, let's debunk some myths. Darwin was not a racist. Well, I mean, we'll never know for sure, but the descent of man was clearly trying to tell us that all humans are of the same race regardless of ethnicity or not. So the question is, what exactly is social Darwinism? Actually, it's surprisingly simple. The original idea was proposed by this guy, Hubert Spencer, and it went something like this. The strong will survive and the weak will fail, therefore helping the weak is against the whims of nature. That sounds pretty bad when you're on the bottom, but to those on top, it's really easy to see why you'd be drawn into it. There's a very seductive logic to thinking that I'm on top because I'm the best, and helping others would just slow down society's growth because they can't be helped. Nowadays, when we think of social Darwinism, we think of the Nazis, but to many 19th century Europeans, they use it for justification for all sorts of things. like slavery or imperialism or even the Irish potato famine. As a moral principle, the theory goes that morals are unimportant because empathy will slow down growth as you try to help people below you. So what's wrong with this theory? Well, for starters, it's just not accurate that people on top are on top because they're better. In fact, I would argue that people are on the bottom of society because of institutional failings over personal ones, and the institutions are run by those on top. By the way, links for that in the description. What I mean by that is I've never met a single person who doesn't want to work at all. Everyone wants to do something, but there are still many unemployed people out there. Therefore, I'd argue that it's not that they don't want to work, it's that there is no work for them to do or nothing that really interests them. That's not their fault. No one chooses to live on the streets. That's just an unfortunate side effect of economics. Another problem with social Darwinism is it's completely objective to decide if someone's strong or weak. I mean, if we're talking about personal strength, laborers are generally people who are stronger than the people who are, bureaucrats. In the end, social Darwinism is not an accurate theory for our society. Where morality comes from is from our compassion and empathy, even if that sort of emotional connection is deemed a hindrance by the theory.
History is made by stupid people. Clever people wouldn't even try. If you want a place in the history books, then do something dumb before you die.